Here. I thought be a fun day to maybe draw some hiking boots. Getting to be a little bit of a winter time here. Hang on with me 1 sec while I get all set up. Yeah, I think last time I went live, I got a lot of requests in the chat for doing some footwear again. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. I've done some athletic shoe sketching sessions in the past, but today I thought it'd be fun to do some hiking boot concepts. So I haven't sketched that much today, so I'm gonna start just by kind of warming up a little bit and doing a few thumbnails. I'm gonna be sketching with an indigo blue pencil, at least to start today. I think a lot of my sketchy demos I do with pen or Sharpie, and it's just easier not to have to kind of sharpen the whole time when I'm on with you guys, so you don't have to hear that. But I just felt like doing pencil today. I feel like sometimes you work with a different medium and you get a little bit of a different result, right? I'm going to start just kind of blocking in a few silhouettes here. And come back in and add some detail to them. Sometimes I'll do this, so I'll just kind of set up a page with a few silhouettes. And then I'll kind of work my way around, add detail to them. A lot of times you all see me just kind of jump straight into a sketch, like a full page sketch. And honestly, that's because I'm usually trying to show you a technique, but that's not how I would typically work. Typically, I would be kind of thinking through some thumbnails first before getting to that bigger sketch. I don't have too much of an idea of what I'm going to do on this today, so just starting out with kind of a boot-like silhouette. And then we're going to sketch in. Again, just kind of trying to find my idea here, starting with just a simple line that's going to delineate the difference between the tooling, which are all the parts that are molded, and the upper. Just see if I can get kind of an interesting line to start thinking about how to play off of. Maybe I'll kind of this heel overlay here that kind of plays off of that line in the tooling. And then a little bit of padding here, maybe. Notice how you kind of alternate between using a little bit more of the side of the pencil and the tip of the pencil to get a little bit of shading in there. Come up to a top line. Again, I don't really have too much of an idea right now. I'm just playing around. More or less just kind of looking, seeing where the lines lead me. I'm going to do kind of a traditional toe here. A smooth toe. I don't know, maybe there's something there. This is just, again, my first sketch, so I'm not counting on this first little thumbnail to be the one. A couple interesting things you'll notice by looking at boots, boots are typically much stiffer than sneakers, right? So your foot's inside here and it can't flex the way it can in a sneaker. So you can't get that kind of toe off or that kind of nice roll through the heel. So to compensate for that, a lot of times you'll notice boots will have this kind of steeper angle in the back, and that's for your heel to kind of strike through. And then it might have a little bit more of a toe spring in the front, and that's so that when you kind of push off on your toe, it feels a little bit more natural because there's no, like there's no flexibility in there. And there's advantages and disadvantages to anything. That no flexibility, that's going to give you a lot more support, which you might want if you're hiking through trails. Or if it's a work boot, you might want that because you're on your feet all day. You might want that kind of support through there. Something interesting here, proportions are a little off, but it's okay. We're just, again, sketching around here. Maybe we'll add a little staggered chamfer here. Let's see, do I want to pull that through? Sometimes I like to see if there's a line that can kind of come through from the upper into the tooling, which I think just makes it interesting. All right, let's start another one. Let's do something a little bit different in the tooling here. Use just more of a flat band, straight line there. But maybe, let's see, do something where the upper really kind of intrudes on that. Okay. It could be interesting. If you're watching, feel free to ask any questions as I sketch along here in the chat. I'm always happy to answer questions as I go. Maybe we do something a little more angular through here. That's kind of interesting. More of this kind of flat top here. Almost thinking, do I want to give it kind of like a chukka? Kind of a chukka vibe going there. Kind of cool. Let's move on. Let's do some more. See a few people just joined. For those of you just joining, I'm just kind of doing some thumbnail sketches, trying to basically find a theme that I want to do a bigger sketch of here. Don't really have much of a plan yet. Just trying to find my way around it. And the more thumbnails I do, kind of the looser I get. Let's do something with more of a little bit of a sneaker type of an eye row here. Nice clean toe so far. It's kind of interesting. Somebody asked if I'll be uploading this to my YouTube. I always do my lives. I always upload them. So yeah, you'll be able to watch this later. I used to basically do these really involved sketch tutorial videos. They would just take forever to edit, and I realized it's just better to just go live, so you guys can see how I'm sketching in real life, and then I can just save it into the regular feed, so you can watch later if you want. Yeah, do one more thumbnail and I'll pick one. Just trying to explore. This one's kind of fluid. This one's a little bit more angular. This one's a little more sneakery. This one I'll do just a little more bulbous and rounded. Can't help a little Jordan 13 influence there, maybe. But I've done all clean toes. Let's do one that's a little bit more of like a basketball, kind of a cage toe. Yeah, kind of hook up off of that line. All right, let's pick one of these here. I think I'm gonna go with this kind of a chuck-a-boot with this kind of angular tooling. There's something interesting going on there. So let's pick that up. That a little bit bigger. I'm just gonna put this under here so I can keep it somewhat on the screen for all of you. So I'm gonna keep this a kind of a pure side view. I'm gonna start with just getting ground plane in there. And then start by getting the silhouette in. You know, things like footwear, just the proportion is so important. You know, if the proportion's not right, it kind of doesn't matter what you do with the rest of it. It's just not gonna seem right. So I have this kind of straight, slightly ascending line for the tooling. I don't know if this is going to be the sketch yet or if it's just an underlay, so kind of playing through this. Maybe this will kind of do a little jog down here. Just break that up a little bit. Give us some room to add some reinforcement stitching here. And I like this kind of line that just unexpectedly broke downward here. And get that kind of deep facet. And then a little bit of a return. And again, this kind of angular line for the heel cup. A little bit of a puff here, a little bit of a padded collar. So I'm gonna have some stitching run around here. So this will be a little bit puffy. That. A little bit of a little arch here, not a lot. I think that could be interesting to kind of, again, play that line up there. There's actually a little bit of a form break there. You see a little bit of that chamfer. But I want to show this as be a little bit radiused here. That's flat. And maybe we'll have some siping here. Siping is when basically they cut the tooling. Sometimes there's a blade in the tool. It adds a lot of grippy traction in kind of wet conditions. Yeah, I like where that's going. I feel like this hockey stick kind of a thing should come down a little bit more. Okay, some placing. Maybe what we'll do is a couple of hidden laces here. And then at the top, do some speed loops. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Maybe there's a little break here from the vamp. Usually you would hide this break between the kind of toe vamp into the tongue under a lace, but maybe we should show that off. So we could do a material change there. I like that. All right, I'm gonna do another clean sheet over top. I got a little bit more of a sense of what's going on with this thing. So just taking got my thumbnail and then my underlay. So taking another clean sheet. And now that I kind of have a little bit more of a sense of what I'm doing here with this thing, I feel like I can kind of be much more confident in my lines. So I've got a couple of really pure straight lines, so I'm pulling this triangle here. So I can really set those up. You notice even though I'm using a straight edge here, I'm being careful about how I draw my line, right? So it has some dynamicness to it. So that's the separation between the tooling and the upper. So I'm gonna leave that as a pretty dark line. Then I'm gonna be much lighter about this line because that is chamfer. That's just a form shift. So I don't want that to be too heavy. Let me get that ground plane in here too. Getting that nice and dark, that's our ground plane. Notice how I kind of let that kind of fade out towards the ends too. All right. Now the rest of these lines, I feel like I want them to be a little softer, a little more organic, so I don't want to use the straight edge for them. Maybe this could maybe just do something like that. Yeah, like that. So we got this little, this kind of flaring heel here, but then there's this little return. That's nice. I like that. That's a pretty cool tooling. Kind of regret doing this tooling for a demo now. Should have used this for a client. All right, let's start working on the upper. So this line that comes into the tooling carries up into the upper, which again is just something that I really love to do. I think it makes the design feel much more three-dimensional and intentional and less like plop this upper onto a tooling. Something that when I worked in Jordan, I worked for Dwayne Edwards, who's founder of Pencil, which is the only really the only shoe design academy that I could think of. That was something he really stressed. It's just like, how do you make the design more three-dimensional? How do you make these parts feel like they belong to each other? Especially when you're designing new tooling, you know, a lot of fashion shoes, they use existing tooling. And so the upper looks just very plopped onto the tooling. But if you're working for a brand like Timberland or Sorel or Cole Haan, they're gonna do their own tooling. So you really wanna make sure, since they're investing in their own tooling, you wanna make sure that the tooling and the upper really goes together. So the way that they achieve something like this kind of puffy look in the collar, you know, it's partially for look, partially for comfort. But the way they do that is there's actually some EVA foam that's behind here in the collar. And then what they'll do is once they put the foam in and they stitch up the kind of the shell and the lining, then they'll run a stitch through the shell, the lining, and the foam. And you get this kind of puffy collar. And I always feel like if you understand how they do something, how they make it, I feel like you could draw it a little bit better. You understand what's going on in there. It's not just a look, it's how it's made. Pretty amped about this boot. I want one now. So we have this kind of chuck-a-boot looking thing. It's kind of like a weird cross between a chuck-a-boot and like a traditional outdoor boot, like a Timberland. But I think just having that little dog leg makes it unique. I'm gonna add one more. So these are these hidden laces. They're, you know, like that's a webbing in there, or sometimes they call it a gilly for some reason. Don't ask me why. I don't know why, but it's called a gilly. It's just basically a little piece of woven webbing that's looped over that you lace through. And then maybe these speed laces, instead of making them, I had them as these kind of, you know, they speed laces sometimes will be this post that then has like a loop comes out of the post. But you can also do a speed lace where it's just a post that kind of goes like that, and then the lace goes through it. So I think I'm gonna switch it over to something like that. It's a little bit cleaner. And I'll just leave the top one blank because I want to show that little radius there. I want you the decision maker, whoever's to see that. Okay, yeah, cool. I can get this silhouette kind of blocked in here. I'm just gonna sleek that out a little bit. Toes may be a little long, but I tend to draw my toes a little long. My friend Scott Patches, chief design officer at Cole Haan's, always telling me that. Yeah, dude, your toes are a little long. But everybody's got their style, their proclivities, things that they do. So we've got this little dog leg here. I want to do just something. Do the opposite of what I would think I would do. Yeah, like that. So showing here, we have this clean toe. We have that clean toe, but then it kind of basically has to interface, has to be split somewhere to make the tongue. And maybe this would be like a nice thick waterproof leather, but then we could go down maybe a thinner material for the tongue. It's a little more comfortable. And then maybe come back to a leather here. Yeah, and then that grabs this top lace. There'd be another lace there, so we'll give that a little bit of room. There'd probably be a little stitch down here. Same here, this eye row here is probably over top of these layers. So let's add a stitch there. After years of designing shoes, you kind of almost get this like automatic dotted line. It's like your little sewing machine. I'm gonna do a double row stitching there. I'm not rendering it yet, but I'm just adding a little dimension, even though this is right now just a sketch. But I think I will add a little color to it in a few minutes. And then I think I want to do something here. A little reinforcement here. Maybe we would actually have like a couple bar tacks here. Bar tack is like a thicker embroidered stitch usually used for reinforcement. So where this eye row hits the toe overlay, I think that could be kind of nice. It's functional because it adds reinforcement, makes it last a little longer, be a little more durable, but also gives you a nice little detail. And then get out my little piece of trusty fabric that I've had for 15 years in the top of my drawer. Literally, it's longer than 15 years. I remember I clipped this out in 2003 in my first year at Nike from the materials library, specifically to use under sketches. And yeah, it's almost 20 years later, still using that same little piece of fabric, but it's champ. I mean, look at that. If you don't have a little piece of fabric like that, I'll give you a little trick. If you check out your backpack, strap on your backpack can work almost just as good. Like here, I got a backpack right here. So you can literally take the strap on your backpack and put underneath your sketch. Here it's like a long piece of strap, right? Put that underneath your sketch and do what I'm doing with this piece of fabric, and you get a very similar effect. You have to experiment a little bit with it, but see how it works out. And I'm gonna do this on the tongue as well. Maybe there's some kind of a textile, undetermined textile here on the tongue. All right, I think this thing is ready for a bit of color. You know what, actually, no. I need to add some details to the tooling here. So I had these kind of siped lines. I'm gonna give them a little bit more space. I feel like they got a little too close here. Just gonna kind of very slightly fan them out. One more in here. And then have this little kind of coffer details in between. Yeah, I won't do that one. So these sipes in the tooling will spread a little bit as the foot flexes. And when those open up, they get very grippy. If you're on like a smooth, wet surface, say you're on like a tile floor after you come in from the snow or something like that, great for that. But then these coffers, these deeper, chunkier, kind of removed areas, those are going to be great for kind of looser, if you're outside in the snow or gravel or mud, you're going to want some traction like that. So you're going to be, even though this is not like a performance hiking boot, these are little things you have to be thinking about when you're drawing these products, because I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I've experienced this with a like a chukka or something, and you get on you go outside in the rain, it's wet, and then you come inside to a marble foyer. It could be slippery. So it's nice if a designer is thinking about these things. And just want to add maybe a little hint of, I don't know, do I want some texture up there? Yeah, let's add a little texture here. Toe, I don't know. Let's go for it. And I'm just gonna hint at some kind of a texture change here. Just a concept sketch, so I don't have to specify it yet, but it's something I would really think about in the tech pack of what texture is gonna go there. I want you all to see, how much I work on all this line work before we add any color to it. There's a lot of information you can convey just with the line work. You really get a sense of kind of what's up, what's down. Oops, brim my hat hit the phone stand there, sorry. I'm gonna leave this heel smooth, but in reality, what you'd wanna see, it could be smooth around the perimeter, but on the inside, you'd probably wanna have some reverse sawtooth. So, let me see how that would go. So you would, inside of here, there might be a section that's kind of like this. And if you notice, a lot of hiking boots will have that kind of reverse sawtooth in the heel. And think about that. That's because as you're coming down, if you're coming down on a gravel path or something, that's gonna compress down on the heel, and you wanna kind of basically dig in through there. All these little things that you might not even realize footwear designer is thinking about. Just gonna do a little detail of that piece of hardware there. These little pieces of hardware, there's tons of off-the-shelf examples, but if you do design a custom one, it's always a nice little opportunity for a logo. And, you know, sometimes people are like, God, why are there so many logos on shoes? Well, if you add a logo to it, it makes it harder for the factory to sell it to a competitor. So, you know, I mean, of course, they could always buff the logo out and make another tool, but if it's got your company logo on it, they might be a little less likely to do that. Write a few notes here. All right. I think we're gonna be ready to add some color to this thing. All right, let's see here what we're gonna do for colors. So I've got my, where did I put the underlay? I'm gonna do some color tests. So I've got my thumbnails here. There we go. And I got my underlay. I'm gonna use my underlay to do some color tests here. So let's see what this looks like. I like it, but that marker kind of dead. It's not gonna make it. I can tell. Let's see what else I got. This might be too yellow. That's kind of cool. Let's do that. So this is just a loose concept sketch. I'm not gonna go crazy rendering this thing. But I just want to get some sense of kind of color and material. More if I'm doing marker work. I'm usually keeping it because if I get too tight, it's like I might as well just go digital. And this marker is not too dry, but it's a little dry, which I kind of like because I can basically get some gradation out of it. If it's too new, too juicy, it just kind of fills in. But again, just kind of being loose with it. Using the marker to show some of these edges. Little cast shadow from those speed laces. I don't know why I'm doing this upside down, but sometimes I just do. And then remember we had this little leather piece at the top here. See how much we've communicated just with some quick marker strokes? Like, it just doesn't have to be super tight rendered. All right. Maybe we'll use this. Do something a little darker for the laces, maybe. I think that's too light. How about something like this? Again, testing out those colors. Yeah, do that. Yeah, just adding a slight tonal shift for the lace, kind of a golden braided lace that you'd see in a hiking boot or even a work boot. I feel like these little gillies here, like, I don't know. I feel like I want to color pop them, but I'm not quite sure what I want to do. Yeah, it's kind of subtle. And then I'm gonna do that for these little stitches too. You can just barely be able to see it, but Peter Hoffman asked, how many shoes have I designed? I don't know, Peter. Maybe hundreds. My last full-time footwear job was at Converse. I was design director for just one of the groups there, and just my group alone was doing like 400 shoes a year. So I couldn't even tell you how many shoes I've designed at this point. And it's rewarding, you know. I don't know. I still love doing footwear for a few reasons. One, it's like everybody can use it. You know, it's so nice to design something that people need. You know, and the shoes, they naturally wear out. People love to get a new pair of shoes. It's adding a little bit of thickness to that tongue leather there. It's just rewarding to design something that people want and use, and people get it. You know, you tell people you're a footwear designer, and they're like, oh yeah, I get it. Versus if, you know, just when I tell people I'm an industrial designer, they're like, well, what is that? And you have to explain, like, well, I'm designing medical products, or, you know, just a little bit harder sometimes. And then the other thing I like about designing footwear is that you kind of have to know a little bit about almost every manufacturing technique. So like for this shoe, right, we would be doing some kind of a molded bottom, and maybe this is a poured urethane bottom, maybe it's a rubber cup sole bottom that's compression molded. Like you're gonna have to understand all kinds of processes. Inside of here, there's probably some kind of a heat activated heel counter. There could be an injection molded shank plate in here that's going to help keep it stable. You just have to know a little bit about almost every manufacturing process, plus all the traditional processes like cutting and sewing, and then new ways of doing uppers like welding and knitting. So it's kind of like there's always something to learn. There's always something to know. I love that too about it. I mean, I love designing consumer electronics too, but in comparison, it's just like a totally different ballgame. You know, in comparison, it's like you're injection molding 3 or 4 parts. You gotta, you know, fit all the components, but I don't know, I think doing footwear is harder. And I like that. I like that challenge. So I don't know, I think I'm gonna keep the tooling white. Use my, just kind of my blue pencil here. Show the form shifts. Smudge that a little bit. JP says he's only got a blue marker, so he's gonna do blue. Hey, you know, sometimes you just gotta go with the marker you got. Sometimes that's what determines the colorway. Sometimes the cool stuff comes out that way too, you know? You're like, oh, I got a yellow highlighter, so it's gonna be yellow. I always think that when I see like running shoes from the late 80s and they have these like highlighter pops on them, I'm like, did the designer just like only have a highlighter and then it went to production that way? I don't know, guys. I'm kind of in love with this boot. Someone from Timberland or Zarel or Cole Haan, if you're watching, let's make this. So yeah, I'm just kind of putting on some finishing touches now. I like to really just kind of at the end push the line weight a little bit more. I don't know about all of you. I went to art school and we had this one drawing teacher, figure drawing teacher, freshman year, who's like always like, you gotta go and but push into it. And we used to always make fun of him. He would make all these exasperated faces, but you know, he's kind of right. Like, there's something to these little moments that propel your eye around the sketch. Just give it a little bit of extra life, you know? Smudge that up a little bit again. Again, this is just an indigo blue prismacolor pencil. Maybe, I don't know, do I want a loop on this? No, I'm just gonna keep it clean. I love it when boots have a loop on them, like a pull tab loop, because it makes them easier to get on, but then that thing is always like snagging on your jeans and it's like one is down, one's up. I hate that. Let me just add a little bit of a texture on these laces. Got like a little braided texture. Just gonna hint at that. Okay, and now I'm gonna come in just a little bit of this white marker here just to hit some of my edges. I want to show that edge is up. Just hit a little bit of this one right here. A little bit on the top of these laces, just subtly. You don't want to do too much. Do the same through the tooling here. See how that now, so I smudged all that blue pencil, right? But now I'm coming back with this little bit of a white marker here. Showing that off a little, showing that form change. Let's get it actually like a little bit of a double line on those. It kind of finishes them off a little bit nicer. Yeah, cool. I think we are pretty much done. Getting a sense of that kind of roundness there. Yeah. Maybe there'd be some kind of a little logo detail here. I'm like, do I want to add something? Let's do it. Let's add a little something. So I'm just gonna add this little underlay. And that could be kind of a nice little, almost like a landing pad for the logo. You know, that could be molded too. That could be an underlay, that could be just like a tonal deboss. Yeah, let's just make it a tonal deboss. I was gonna use this gold color and just kind of fill it in and do the logo, but I think I'm just gonna do. So that could just be like a heat process. I basically kind of like stamp that in when it's still flat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. This gives it a little detail, a little finish. Then you could do kind of a, just gonna do like a little hint of a logo, could be anything. But you could either emboss that logo in that same process, or you could embroider that. You could weld something there maybe, depending on what this leather is. just kind of show it as a little bit of as an emboss. When I don't know I'm just doing a sketch for myself and I want to show a brand on there. Usually do this as kind of like a scripty IM. I don't know what it means. I think it spices it up just a little bit. I wonder if I would do another one back here. Just gonna leave it. Leave it plain. Leave it this nice, big wrapped piece. Might have to be a center seam there, but depending on what the price point of the boot is, maybe you could get away with that being one piece of leather. Or it could be shorter on the medial side. That could be kind of cool. I get a little bit more dimension in here. So I'm just coming back with that same color. What is this? Brick beige. I'm just going over it, but it's kind of well dried now. I might come see where's my I'm always losing my underlay here. So let's do this little test here. Let's see what happens. I have a lot of that brick beige. What happens if I put some of this taupe over top of it? Yeah, I think I could tone that a little bit with taupe. Just give it a little bit more dimensionality. But I don't want to do too much. Yeah, that's good. You need just a little bit more of a little more pop. Pull it off the page a little bit more. It's a little too subtle. Gotta be careful here though, because I've already kind of laid down my white highlights. But that's okay. We'll just be careful. That out a little bit more of my brick beige. That's popping. Now that's just, I like that. It feels much more three-dimensional. Just adding that secondary color there. Add a little bit of a cast shadow below these metal speed laces. Below this one lace that's coming down here. Slight little highlight on these webbings here. All right, I think we are good. I hope for those of you that have watched along, hope you enjoyed this boot sketch. So, just so you saw where we started from, the first thing I did was just kind of lay down some thumbnails. I didn't have much of a plan tonight. I knew I wanted to do a boot of some kind. So I did some that were a little bit more sneakery, some that were more boot-like, and then kind of gravitated towards this chukka with this kind of angular tooling, which I thought was unique, this kind of little chamfer that goes into this downward sloping line. So from there, did this really rough underlay, just trying to get the proportions right, get the lines in. And then once I kind of felt good about this, I kind of pushed some lines around. We did this sketch over top. And that's pretty typical, typically if I was getting a shoe project from a client, they'd send me a brief. I might do 4 or 5 pages like this of thumbnails, kind of exploring the brief for myself. And I might pick 3 to 5 to get up to this level to show the client. And that took we've been doing this about an hour. So kind of a typical, that's kind of my typical pace, is like when I'm working on client work, is kind of like a concept an hour. So to get ready for an initial presentation might be a solid day of concepting. Now I have to get a good brief. And if I don't get a good brief, then I might have to work on the brief with the client. And even if I get a good brief, I have to take a little time to digest it and just kind of think about it. So that all has to be factored in too. And then usually after I think about it for a few days, I can come in and blast out a day of concepts, but it just takes time, I think a lot of it is, JPS, 3 to 5 big ones. Yeah, that's for the initial presentation. Yeah, again, I probably do 2 or 3 pages of these, so 15 or so, and then pick 3 to 5 like this to show the client. Sometimes I show them the thumbnails too, depending on the client. And I typically wouldn't just show this view. I'd probably also show a bottom view. Probably also show a top view. Maybe a heel view if I needed it, but hey, why don't we put in a top view real quick? Just gonna show the toe. A round boot toe. Not gonna render it, but just so you know what I think is going on here. So we've got this kind of hockey stick thing going on. It's coming up into the eye row. Yeah, adds a little bit more information. All right, everybody. I hope you had a good time. Maybe you were sketching along. I hope this was helpful. I had a good time. I had some fun. So if nothing else, that happened. All right, everybody. Broadzilla asks do I prefer to render by hand or digitally? I probably do much more digitally at this point. You know, I might do this sketch, you know, in pencil like this and then scan it and then render it up digitally. Um, Sometimes I do it all by hand, sometimes I do it all digitally. Kind of depends on my flow and where I'm at. And I like to switch it up. That's what I can tell you. You know, I think sometimes if we just use the same mediums all the time, it can get a little stale, right? You can get a little stuck. So switching it up, I think, is the key for me. Helps kind of keep things loose in my brain. All right, everybody. I hope you have fun. I hope you have a great rest of your day or your evening. Getting close to the holidays here, so I hope you have happy holidays and a happy new year. And if you do something like this, if you post it on Instagram, make sure you tag me at DiTullo, okay? I'd love to see it. All right, take it easy.